Welcome to NYNJPA Weather, your weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino, and happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone celebrating. We start off with the visible satellite picture, which clearly shows that skies are clear throughout the entire Northern Mid-Atlantic. We do have a few clouds here and there over central Pennsylvania and parts of northeastern Pennsylvania, but these fair weather clouds will not produce any precipitation whatsoever. What we can expect is basically clear skies for most locations and temperatures rising into the lower to mid 60s along the coast and the upper 50s over the interior. Generally a really nice day for St. Patrick's Day if you're going to the parade or whatnot. And if you're enjoying NCAA basketball, I know the tournament is starting today. Our surface map as of 10 a.m. clearly shows that high pressure is in control over much of the East Coast. The center of the high pressure system is basically shifting towards the southeast coast today, and that will produce southwesterly winds throughout the entire northern mid-Atlantic. Now today, again, we're going to be rising into the lower to mid 60s for most locations, but tomorrow, that's when the real warm air comes in. The locations are currently warming up today will basically be around the mid-Mississippi River Valley and the southern plains. Notice the isobars, they're tightly packed from basically oriented from southwest to northeast. Well, those southwesterly winds and that warm air mass will be rapidly moving into the northern mid-Atlantic tomorrow with temperatures in the lower to mid 70s. That's right, 70s for much of central and southern New Jersey and the Philadelphia metropolitan area and locations around the New York City metropolitan area, especially northeastern New Jersey. And then the rest of the northern mid-Atlantic will be in the upper 60s. Now, portions of Long Island, because of that southwesterly wind coming off the Atlantic, a few locations may be stuck in the upper 50s to lower 60s, especially on the east end. Meanwhile, a cold front that is currently moving through the northern plains will finally reach the northern mid-Atlantic tomorrow night. This cold front will be very weak and will not produce much in the way of precipitation, but the cold front will produce a few isolated showers Friday night into Saturday morning and a return to near normal temperatures once again for Saturday and Sunday with highs in the 50s. So although this weekend will be cooler with temperatures back to normal in the 50s, high pressure will be in control, which means that skies will be clear and there will be dry conditions. So really it won't be all that bad of a weekend to go out and enjoy the weather outside with temperatures basically in the lower to mid 50s on Saturday and upper 50s to lower 60s, especially as you move just away from the Atlantic Ocean for Sunday afternoon. I think locations around the Philadelphia metropolitan area will actually be rather nice on Sunday afternoon. Then we have trouble brewing over the plains. Next week is turning out to be a bit of a roller coaster ride in terms of temperatures. Now, by Monday night, high pressure will be well off of the East Coast, and that means that a southwesterly wind will take hold. Monday night to Tuesday, look for a warm front to move through with a few scattered showers. The low pressure system that is going to be over the central and southern plains on Monday night will track towards the eastern Great Lakes and eventually attempt to move through the northern mid-Atlantic. Now, there are some who are misreading the model guidance a bit and thinking that there's going to be a snow threat. Now, let me explain why that's not the case. Here we are on Wednesday evening, and as you can clearly see, we have an area low pressure moving into the Canadian Maritimes. It looks rather strong, but I'm not exactly very convinced that that is actually going to happen, that the low pressure system will be that intense. But let's just assume that's the case. And we also have an area low pressure over Virginia. And of course, the red dashed line here, that's the 540 line, and that's cutting through northern New Jersey. Now in the winter, let's say January, this type of pattern would make one pause for a minute and say, this could produce some snow. However, we're in late March by this point, by next week. And that means that we're dealing with different air mass dynamics. Basically what I'm trying to say is that the sun is higher in the sky and it's out longer. And what that means is that air masses that typically would have produced snow in January and February when the sun angle was lower and the days were shorter, won't necessarily produce the same type of setup when you move into March. In fact, really, this type of air mass would be extremely marginal even in winter. And in this case, I just don't see any threat for snow in this pattern. Now this is 500 millibars on the European model guidance from the Penn State EWOL on Wednesday night. And what I want to point out is really important here is that this pattern is progressive. We have an upper level low sitting off of the west coast, and our ridge is moving through the plains of Canada and heading into the Hudson Bay. This is not a pattern that supports any type of snowfall whatsoever. And because of this type of pattern, you have to question whether this upper level low is really going to be as intense as the model guidance is showing. In fact, the European ensemble model guidance is far weaker and the trough is far broader. And what that usually means is that the cold air advection associated with this trough, which by the way is exiting the East Coast, is usually not as impressive as what some of the guidance is suggesting. So again, this pattern, I wouldn't jump the gun in thinking that this would be a snow event whatsoever. In fact, I wouldn't even count on the idea of this being much of a storm. And even at 850 millibars, look at the thermal gradient associated with this setup. We're talking about 10 degrees Celsius at around the Delaware Bay and Cape May, New Jersey. And then it's down to minus 10 degrees Celsius over parts of, let's say, Poughkeepsie, Albany, and northern portions of Connecticut. That is an impressive thermal gradient of about 20 degrees Celsius at 850 millibars. What that basically means is that temperatures are in the 50s over southern New Jersey, and if you want to take this verbatim, temperatures are in the lower 30s over parts of the central Hudson Valley. Now, the reason why I say lower 30s and not, let's say, 20s, like what I would in January, is that, again, we're dealing with a higher sun angle. The boundary layer temperatures ahead of this event are in the 50s and 60s, so the lower levels of the atmosphere are going to be rather warm to begin with, which is going to cause this air mass at the surface to modify. So really, there's a lot of factors here that basically say no to snow, or really even any type of threat of a storm when you take into account of the 500 millibar pattern. I would not be surprised if what we end up seeing by Wednesday afternoon is a cold front passage moves through, a weak low travels to the south, a few scattered showers, but that's about it. This high pressure system, again, the whole pattern is progressive, so this high pressure system is going to be pretty aggressively building into the northern Atlantic. And yeah, that does mean cooler temperatures, probably in the 40s and 50s, but it also means dry air. So I would suspect that this low pressure system is forced south, and we don't really see much in the way of precipitation from this storm. I'm going to keep rain in the forecast for now, but I would not be surprised if I reduce this to scattered showers by tomorrow as far as the 7-day forecast. But really, I don't see much in the way of a significant threat with this storm in any type of frozen precipitation, unless you are in the highest elevations to the north of, let's say, White Plains. Other than that, not much of a threat here for snow. Sorry. Thank you for trusting in NYNJPA Weather as your weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Have a happy St. Patrick's Day.